Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome everyone to a very special episode of Cricket Mehfil today. We're very lucky to have with us Mr. Grant Bradburn, who is the head of high performance coaching at the National Cricket Academy in Pakistan. Grant, thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, and it's a real privilege to chat to you today.
Thank you very much. For those who aren't watching, Grant, not very familiar, how does the institution work and what is your role regarding domestic and international players?
So my role is simply the head of high performance coaching for Pakistan cricket. And it's an absolute privilege to be given this task, which is a new role since June of last year, to support our coaches. Every coach in our high performance area, from Misbah as the international coach and David Hemp as the international coach, down to our under-19 domestic coaches and all of the zonal women's coaches as well. It also envelops the National High Performance Centre coaches, and I work very closely with Saqlain Mushtaq, who is the head of international player development. So our roles cross over quite a bit, and we are based at in Lahore, across the road from Gaddafi Stadium, at the National High Performance Centre. Although both of our roles we consider our roles very important to be out and about in our community. So right now, we've just finished a very interactive meeting with all of our first team staff in Karachi, our domestic staff, all of the coaches, managers, physios, trainers, analysts. So we've just had a presentation to them. And we've also just had 4 very productive days with Saqlain and Mohammed Yusuf as well in the international bubble, helping our men's team prepare for the first test. So it's a varied role, it's a challenging role, but my job is specifically around the coaches to challenge them and support them. And it's an absolute privilege to be serving Pakistan in this role.
You mentioned, Grant, that you've worked with coaches like Yusuf and Saqlain, also Mushtaq Ahmed, Misbah and Waqar. These are some of the names that most Pakistanis know, and you also mentioned that you worked very closely with junior coaches as well. What's that been like for you personally as an experience?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And all of the coaches are very open to learning. In Pakistan, it's no secret, we have had a culture, if you like, or a tradition of thinking that if we are good players, then we must be good coaches. And our coaches now are being introduced to the notion that being a wonderful player gives you a big advantage as a coach. It gives you a big head start. But coaching and playing are very much 2 different professions. And you need to earn your respect as a player. As you know, we're very, very lucky in Pakistan to have a number of very, very successful and high-performing players in our environment, and we can easily tap into them. But we haven't had a strong culture of world-class coaches. So it's my role is very much introducing them to understanding the complexities of coaching and exactly what that is, what is coaching, and how to transfer the wonderful wealth of knowledge that many of our coaches have in a way where they're teaching and inspiring and guiding our next generation to be as good as they can be.
Grant, coming from the New Zealand cricket setup, what factors or qualities do you think that Pakistani cricket can pick up from New Zealand or indeed from other countries around the globe in order to make more improvements across all levels of cricket?
Yeah, great question. And I think as a Kiwi, we have a philosophy is just to find a way. And we're confident enough to just get the job done and keep the main thing. In New Zealand, there's 4 million people. And 4.5 million people. And in sporting sense, New Zealand is one of the most successful countries in the world in terms of producing world-class athletes. And there is a strong understanding in New Zealand of what coaching is. And coaching is very simply providing the coaching that our players need to be the best that they can be, not only as good as we were as players. So it's really important that we understand what coaching contains. And coaching is a very complex thing. but it really centers around communication and quality relationships. And those are paramount. Those are foundations for our good coaches and good coaching worldwide. Good coaches worldwide, they have strong relationships with their people, with their staff around them, with their players, and they have quality communication skills, varied communication skills, where they capture the moment to have quality communications and inspire their people to achieve common goals. And those are foundations that we're introducing our coaches to here.
Brilliant. Grant, one question we keep always being asked is that we've seen many players in Pakistan fade away after getting injured, and for many, the list is getting quite long. What work is being done at the NHPC regarding the injury rehabilitation of players?
Yeah, lots of work in terms of injury rehab and also selection. So injury rehab is an important role that the National High Performance Centre plays. So any players that are injured and coming back into cricket activity and come and stay at the National High Performance Centre, there's a communication with all of our and international those players, which is a very simple way that we keep track of all our players and keep track. So injury, they might be coming with some sort of technical correction of their action or their style. They might be coming with some support around their fitness, nutrition, their mental skills. So the National High Performance Centre in Lahore is equipped to handle all of those areas of supporting our coaches and supporting our teams to bring back players from injury. We have a full staff of sports and physio and medical staff at the National High Performance Centre as well, who have clear lines of communication with the sports and medical staff with each of the teams. So the communication is really important, and we tend to put the player first. So it's a really important philosophy that we have around a player first mentality. So what does that player need to be the world's best and to help us win games of cricket for Pakistan? And that is a simple question that we ask. And we try and provide the player the myriad of support that they need at any given time to help them be as good as they can be.
Grant, one thing we've seen is Pakistan is lagging behind other teams when it comes to its overall standard of fielding. None of the domestic teams so far have had a dedicated fielding coach. You've served as Pakistan's fielding coach in the past. What changes do you think need to be implemented from a domestic level going up in order for improvement?
Yeah, so that's a good point, and I think it's a very important part of the game. So just to lay the foundation there, my philosophy is that cricket is a very simple game. It's about batting well, and it's about fielding well. Now, if you do two out of those three facets well, then you're likely to be in contention for the game. If you do three out of three of those things well, you're likely to be winning the game. As a fielding coach, I identified subjectively that we are not even in the top 10 of fielding teams in the world at associate nations in terms of their quality of fielding. Now, fielding and fitness go hand in hand, but also there's two simple things that we can do to really move our fielding forward, which we have begun this season. So we have injected for the second half, the back half of the domestic scene, we have injected some coaches into our first team environment, and it has made a huge difference. And so two things we can do. We can improve our coaching of our fielding. We can inspire our players to understand how important fielding is for us to win games of cricket, but we can also select it out. So by that I mean fielding and fitness must become part of our selection philosophy for that fielding attitude to change in our players, and it is changing very quickly.
Grant, there is this notion that Pakistani cricketers don't step up in pressure situations. You spoke about the work also being done on the injuries and the mental side. What more can you tell us about the mental and psychological aspect of the sport that is being covered at the NHPC?
Well, we firmly believe in bringing our training as close to game time as we can. And the pressures of game time, we must try and replicate those in training. So no longer do we want to see players coming in and just going through the motions of batting and bowling. That doesn't happen in game. In game, you're under pressure, you're fatigued, you're having to make decisions. decisions have a big impact on your personal success and the team success. So in our training, what we are trying to educate and empower our coaches to do is to think about the challenging pieces of the game itself and replicate those in training. So for example, adding, not separating our decision making and our technical batting and bowling skills. So we must provide an environment of training which has some decision making tasks for our players to achieve. That brings the game closer to our training. Another example would be fatigue. So it might surprise you that a all-rounder in a one-day game will generally travel around 14 to 15 kilometers in a one-day game if he bats and if he bowls his full 10 overs. So how many times in training do we actually practice that? So again, our fitness must not separate from our skills. So because if we're under pressure through fatigue, through doing some of the physical activity that is involved in the game, if we're doing some of that in our training, that of course challenges our decision making as well. And it also replicates the physical challenges that we're under in a game. So that gives you an idea of the type of mental and physical challenges that we're throwing into our training environment. We're trying to make our training environments dynamic, exciting, and fun to be in terms of players must come into a training environment knowing that they're going to improve, and it's our job as coaches to ensure that that is happening.
Grant, you made your test and one-day debuts against Pakistan, and it's so amazing to have you, working so closely with the Pakistan team now. Any memories from that time when you started playing test and one-day cricket? Anything that still stays with you after all these years?
Yeah, I have wonderful memories of 1990, and isn't it strange how things happen? Maybe things happen for a reason, and here I am all these years after, in the privileged position of working with the Pakistan team. And in Karachi, I made my debut back in 1990 against Wasim and Waqar, and have some amazing memories of that series, which was a very tough series. We got cleaned up by Wasim and Waqar. Akib Javed hardly had to bowl during the season, and Tosif and Abdul Qadir also hardly bowled because the wickets were tailor-made for Wasim and Waqar, and their swing and seam was too much for us at that time. I also made my one-day debut in Peshawar, and I'm certainly looking forward to hopefully getting back to Peshawar at some stage. I now have a deep love for the Pathans and the way that they go about playing cricket, and their attitude to the team philosophy. They're wonderful people to work with, and I'm really looking forward to going back to Peshawar when their stadium is finished. And it's my hope that the opening game of the new stadium at Peshawar would be Afghanistan versus Pakistan. Now, wouldn't that be an amazing opportunity?
It would just be fantastic. It would be some, stuff right out of dreams. Grant, not a lot of people know this, but your father also played Test cricket. You come from a family where cricket is obviously very important. Is anyone from your future lines looking to go on and make it 3 generations playing international cricket for New Zealand?
Maybe. My son, I've got two sons. We've got 2 sons and a daughter, and they're all sporty. But Tom, the middle one, he's 19, and he's a very good cricketer. So he's a left-handed batter and a quick bowler. So you never know. But was very privileged to grow up in a sporting family. Our family played lots of sport, hockey, squash, and of course cricket. And I was very lucky to have the support of both mum and dad, but particularly dad being a cricketer who understood and the tough career that cricket is, and supported me through that in my early days of playing, of course, and coaching as well. So very fortunate to grow up in a very cricket rich environment, as are a lot of people here. It's really humbling to understand each of our players, and I love just asking them about their background and how they got into sport here in Pakistan. And it's very humbling to hear some of the stories and the sacrifices and the choices that our players make to really commit to a game that they love, and a game that's so important to not only them, their family, but to the nation. A lot of people won't appreciate that there's a lot of pressures on our players, to be role models for their families and role models for their country. And it's just mind-blowing to be working and having the privileged position to be having an influential position for Pakistan cricket in a country full of 240 million people, where cricket has no competitor for any other sport, of any other sport. Whereas in New Zealand, there are so many sports that compete for people's time, and there's so many sports that are very, very well run and are attracting a lot of our youngsters into a whole multitude of different sports. Whereas in Pakistan, everyone wants to play for Pakistan, and it's a very, very fortunate position for Pakistan cricket to be in, because depth is not an issue, but it also brings its challenges as well, because without our players being brought up in different sporting environments, they haven't got the agility and the natural movements and the decision making and the spatial awareness that many of our New Zealand players have, because we're all brought up playing rugby, we're all brought up playing another sport, and we all understand how to move, how to use the ground, how to fall, how to field, how to hit a tennis racket, how to play squash. We always play a multiple of sports, so that doesn't necessarily happen in Pakistan. So that is something that we're thinking seriously about too, from a high performance point of view. We're very encouraging of our players to play a second sport, and at the national we're very encouraging for them to try other sports too in their downtime, because we believe those other sports have a big role to play in bringing up the physical and the mental skills of our future stars.
Grant, speaking to you, it's such a privilege. Your love for Pakistan and Pakistan cricket shines through. What's it been like for you living in Pakistan, especially when you consider that this is a very strange time the world over, and you're still very much here? What's your time been like in Pakistan so far?
I absolutely love it here in Pakistan, and it's a real privilege. I'm very much enjoying the culture. I find it very similar to a Maori culture or Pacific Island culture back home. Whereas it's I find the culture here very family-based, very respectful of elders, and very humble, which is very familiar to a Maori culture or Pacific Island culture. So I'm loving that aspect of it, and I'm loving the opportunity to just embrace everything about Pakistan. I also have, in my downtime, I embrace other things. I'm very keen on my guitar, and so my guitar travels wherever I go, really. And I'm also keen and very much a novice, but I'm a novice artist, so I do a fair bit of painting. And so there's some wonderful local landscapes that I can paint in Pakistan, which are great. And I also love my golf. So I get out and play golf whenever I can. And fortunately, there's a couple of very keen golfers in the Pakistan environment. Muhammad Hafiz is a wonderful golfer and a wonderful host as well. So I really enjoy playing with him. And myself and Waqar Younis love to play together. And we try and get out and play golf whenever we can and whenever time and COVID allows as well. So, I'm really embracing meeting new people and met some wonderful people in Pakistan that will remain lifelong friends, I'm sure, even though I've only been here 2 years. But it's a privilege for me to be here. And my Urdu needs to improve. I'm determined this year to improve my Urdu.
Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking the time out for us. It's just so wonderful to see your passion for Pakistan cricket. It's amazing to learn about all the amazing things you and your team are doing. And we wish you all the best. We wish you all the success and health. Thank you so much, and all the very best to you, to your family, and to Team Pakistan.
Thank you so much, and really appreciate the opportunity to chat. And thank you too for the promotion that you're doing for cricket in this country.
Thank you very much, Grant. Have a great day.
Shot, not catch out हो गया